This video was brought to you by Xfinity. CelebrateBlackTV.com. Xfinity, the future of awesome.
Right. This is that year when he was growing some, saying, you know, I got something special to say, and I saw in your particular type of playing, oops, could have very well been you playing at those parts, and I wondered how long you've been playing these riffs before.
No, man. To be honest, it's funny that you funny that you say that. Like, I'm a shit guitarist, man. Like honestly, I'm a right-hand guitarist, but I'm a closet player. You know, I only play I'm more punk guitarist than anything. So it's just like loud and fast. But when we were preparing to make the movie, we thought that we could do it right-handed and then flip the image so I could look as comfortable as possible. But it would be way too expensive to shoot that way, so we had to decide to go, you know, with the left-handed gig, and I was really not confident in it at all. And I remember having a conversation on the phone, I think a couple of days before we left to go to Ireland.
It was about 2 days before we were going to start shooting. And I was just like, man, I'm not sure if I can do this or whatever. But to me, the funny thing was he'd worked for Artie for months, and he'd rehearsed it left-handed, and I'd actually had video of him shooting it left-handed. So I had this high degree of confidence, and I think a lot of that goes back to if Andre was going to do it, you know, you have to be one of the best guitarists in the world to pick it out. That was his desire all the way through. But I will just say, in doing it, what we did early on, we had Andrew Rollins, who was Andre's guitar coach, who's phenomenal in his own right, and we just picked sections of the song and kind of storyboarded it early about, okay, this is the first time we see it, so we're going to take this section and that section and not try to emulate it over the entire song, and really break it down and do these parts. And as you say, it was just repetition, and then getting to the part where Andre could take his own charisma as a performer and someone who's been on stage his entire life and put it into it. It was one of those things where we went back and forth, and rightly so, in that 11th hour, it was like, hey, is this... Because once we went down that road, we were committed.
Right.
It was about the framing, about flipping the frames, about CGI. There are other films I know where they've done, for example, with piano and CGI it in. We didn't have that kind of money. I really believe that in the end, doing it live, and this not just about this. There are other projects I'm working on where there's just, if you do it that way, everybody is forced to do it right the first time, and not say, okay, we'll get it later in post. But in the end, it was Andre's call, and he made the call, and he did it. I mean, there's just no two ways about it.
And just to say another thing about the left-hand thing, Jimi, and I think any guitarist would agree, Jimi is probably the most comfortable-looking guitarist in the world. Like, most guitarists, even if they're great, they look like they're doing a task, like they're working, you know. But Jimi never looked like he was working. You know, always looked like it was like his extra hand. So, you know, I guess the confidence that I didn't have in doing it left-handed was, okay, I'm actually doing something that my motor skills are not used to doing, and I have to look like I've been doing it all my life, and I have to look like Jimi Hendrix. Just kind of like, the confidence was just gone. And if you know, I mean, left-handed anything is just horrible. I mean, I don't mean to be vulgar, but it's like if you masturbated with your right hand all your life and then you have to switch it up. It's like, it's just not.
Try it when you get home.
It's totally opposite. It's like, it just throws you off. So John, he gave me the piece, said, well, the way we will shoot it, you will be okay.
I say about the project is that I asked Andre to do just two things. He had to turn water into wine, and he had to do it with his left hand. And if he could do that, we would have a film.
Yeah, no pressure.
Somehow managed to actually pull it off.
Damien, blackfilm.com.
Andre, tell me something when you was doing your research on Hendrix, something you found out that surprised you, something that you just had no idea about.
There's two things actually. Hendrix's confidence in his playing, and he was pretty ballsy. Like, I've heard interviews where he was kind of shit talking, you know, about other players. I mean, not putting them down, but basically talking about his skill, and also just his remorse. There was an interview where, of course, you'll see it in the film, where Hendrix, you know, he has to go on stage and play with Clapton. Later on, there's an interview where Hendrix says, oh man, I hate that actually happened, you know, because he said, I love Clapton and I really love his playing and I would love to play with Clapton every day. He said, but I knew at that point it came down to a me or him. And I knew walking to the stage I would have to burn him to make it. And so in the interview he's like, oh, I feel so bad about it, but I had to do it. So, you know, you get to see that he's human too. He's like, oh man, I didn't want to do that. And there's another great thing, I think kids should hear this one too. Hendrix, everybody knows, especially young people, they know him as this drug addict kind of guy. But there's an interview where Hendrix says, I know now, he said, I used to think that I was built to take all these drugs, that I was made to do this. And he said, I know now that I've taken entirely too many drugs. And he said it, so I don't know. You know, it's just another side of somebody that you think is just high all the time and don't give a fuck, you know.
Yuki from Cut.
Can you talk about working with Imogen and Haley?
It was the greatest, and I think we spoke to this earlier. I think the best directed decision was to put that time in before we actually started shooting, because we actually got to spend time and go on basically like dates and chill out moments. So I got to know these women. It was actually the best job in the world. You kind of get to go out with these two women, and they're fine with it. You know, it's cool. But yeah, we had dinners, breakfasts, lunch. We just kind of kicked it around the city.
No, but see, I don't want to get caught up in those kind of labels, though. You know, I don't want it to be okay. Well, oh, he's playing blues, or he's playing like R&B or soul, or all that kind of stuff. Those cages, man.
I'm not saying that it has to be.
It's not about style. You know, I want my music to go inside the soul of a person.